Welcome to Positive Talk Radio. Our goal is simple, to explore evolving ideas one conversation at a time. So, stay with us as right now we present. I want you to stay with us because in this episode, we're all going to die. And I'm just kidding. I have to tell you, DC Gomez is the author, the impeccable author. She's written 19 books. The last one to come out was called Judgment Day, and we were all going to die. And there was a 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and it was all kinds of stuff. And she is just a delightful human being. And I had such a good time with her the other day that I wanted to invite her back so that we could get this down and talk about. Oh, you're so cute, and get this down and talk about the things that you do and how you got into doing this and also where do you see yourself and where do you see our planet and what's just we'll talk about anything you want to talk about specifically.
Hey, I'm open to any discussions. I think I need to have a disclaimer for everybody viewing, watching, listening. Is most of the times, a lot of my books have a lot of the horror element. So everybody's like, I don't know if I can pick it up because it's scary. And I was like, you met me. Do I look like I write anything scary? They're like, oh, good point. Do that, girl. So as long as you enjoy quirky characters with lots of madness, I'm your girl. Pick up a book because they're full of dark humor. But usually that's one of those you asked me earlier, do people ask you any specific questions? I always ask if my books are scary. And I honestly have to think about it. I was like, yeah, no, they're not scary. They'll have a little bit of suspense. They'll have a little bit of thriller. Scary? Nah, I'm just very quirky, full of kind of like dark humor. Hard to be scary.
I know, but when you wrote the series, because this was the Judgment Day was the 5th book in the series, and it was called the Intern Diary series.
Yes.
And why that name?
So book 1 is called Death Intern, and it's literally based on the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And every horseman has interns. So Death has one per continent, and our main heroine, who's amazing, is Isis Black, and she's literally just a girl trying to make up with her life. She moved to Texarkana. She's trying to get her life together, and there's a knock on the door, and it's Death with a job offer. And let's be honest, as Death pointed out, Isis does not have much going on in her life. Like, really? This is like, she lives in a 1-bedroom apartment. Things are falling apart. What are you going to do? Her one friend gets kidnapped, and it throws her in this whirlwind of figuring it out like, oh my God, the horsemen are real, which took her to book 2 to realize that the horsemen's out there. But it is finally what happens if you get this knock on your door that changes your life? What do you do? So you have this sarcastic girl that's trying to do the best that she can. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the series is it is a bunch of interns just trying to do good. Like her job is to figure out anytime something's going to stop Death's delivery of the soul, Isis has to go fix it. That's it. She just doesn't realize that all this random stuff is going to happen. And that the life expectancy of an intern is really short. They just tend to die fast. You have all the, this just kind of happens to her. Then she realizes as the story goes on that, oh my God, the only thing the horsemen do while they wait for the apocalypse is find ways to kill humanity. And she's like, what is wrong with this entire beings? So she's learning a lot about herself and everybody else. And book 5 is really what will you do for your family? And family can be anything. This can be your blood. Family can be your tribe that you pick up. It can be anything. And Isis has to make some decisions because her family was attacked. So all the enemies, bunches she never met, everybody else is pissed off. And the horseman's like, no, I'm coming for them. And Isis is like, oh God, now what do we do? So she has to step up and say, what will you do to save the ones you love? And that's what she does.
It takes quite a little bit of an imagination to be able to write all that. But by the way, could you adjust your microphone just a little bit? We're having just a little bit of background noise.
Better?
Speak more.
How does that sound?
No, we're still getting. Maybe put the microphone a little bit farther away from your face. Maybe.
Let's try that. How does that?
Go ahead and say it.
How does that sound? Is that better, or do I need to just not?
No, that's better. That's
okay.
Better. We're good. So, now you wrote that 5. Did you know that was going to be a 5-book series when you started it?
So I decided it was going to be once book one came out, I wanted to do 5 books. So I'm going to give you the insight of how my mind functions so you can laugh with me. Book one was done. I turned over to my brother and my sister-in-law, who are like my dream team, like the group that I talked to, and I was like, "What am I going to talk about in the other 5 books?" And he goes, "What made you decide to do five?" I was like, "I like the number five." He was like, "Oh my god, really, really? This was your solution in picking?" I was like, "Yeah, I thought it'd be a great idea." So we did. I remember going to one local restaurant as I'm freaking out. I have all these notes. I'm going, I have nothing. Like, what is the rest of this series supposed to be? And I always wanted to do a end of the world kind of like apocalypse. I always wanted to do what happens that would trigger the end of the world. So my brother kind of came up with the idea. It's like, why don't you talk about the other interns from the other horsemen? And I had that look. I'm like, what interns? What? They have interns? Like, oh, Death has interns. Wouldn't the other ones have interns? I'm like, you know, I like. So this series introduces you to Isis and then introduces you to Death. And you get the series through her eyes. So you get to meet book two, you get to meet Pestilence. And what I decided to do is I wanted to introduce the magical world a little slower. So instead of just dumping tons of characters at you, you kind of slowly build, fortunately. So book two, you get to see zombies. I'm like, okay, there's a plague, there's a pandemic running wild only in Texarkana. So you got disgruntled employees that decided to poison people, turn them into zombies. Book three, we get to meet War, who controls all the armies, in case everybody wonders. Pestilence just makes a living out of killing people with viruses. So blame any pandemic that's her calling. You know, the flu, she makes a killing out of the flu. Or people run the CDC, just in case you guys are, curious. How does the CDC not know that? Well, she runs that too. So then you have War, who runs all of the armies. And book three, it's a little bit, I wanted to give a little romance in here because I don't do romance very well, as I've been told. So I have a star-crossed lover between an elf and a vampire. People going, DC, really? This is not what we thought. I was like, you said romance. I was like, that's not what we meant, but okay. So you get the drama of all of that. Fun action scenes in that one. So the ending of it is all sorts of just, I got battle scenes, demons are coming, all sorts of madness and exciting. They're like, how are you going to top book four? I was like, I don't know. Like, I listen, we're going there. And then book four, you're going to meet Famine. And Famine runs all the diet industry. Because let's be honest, how are you going to make humanity starve itself and make money? There you go. So Famine runs all of them, killing it. So Famine and Pestilence have a competition to see which one has more money. So the two of them are hand in hand. War, he cares more about the armies and all that part, in the military. Death just wants to deliver souls. Death is like, God. So in this group of sibling rivalry, as I call them, the only one has a common sense is Death, and everybody's like, really? The only one not trying to kill humanity is Death. She tries just to deliver them. And because the horsemen have been around for so long, and they're just arrogant because they're not human. They have none of the values. They have none of this at stake. They're just waiting for the apocalypse so all their enemies come together and take a shot at them. So here's the reality. If you attack the most powerful force in the world, what's going to happen? Well, the horsemen have one plan B when that happens is destroy humanity. The end. And Isis is like, wait, what? He's like, we're just going to blow everything up. Done. This is how we're going to pay them back. So Isis is trying to stop the horsemen, find the enemies, bring her people back, and hopefully not die.
My gosh, you have one sort of an imagination. That's just amazing.
It's so much fun.
Oh yeah, you get to put on. That must be a lot of fun to put on a hat of and leave reality behind in some manner or form, and just do whatever it is you feel like doing.
It is creating your own world and universe. I had a conversation, I want to say it was book three. And I looked at my brother and I was like, as part of the story, they're searching for this princess that goes missing and they have to go to hell. And I looked at my brother's like, can I take my characters to hell? They're like, it's your book. You can take them anywhere. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. My bad. So you asked if I have nightmares. That was probably one of those books that I literally did lots of prayers. I did lots of signs of the cross. I did sounds like, should I get some holy water to spray around my house? Because as a Christian, I honestly going to take this girl down to the depths of hell. And how do you describe this world? So I pull a little bit of Greek mythology. So you have, the raven stings. You put a little bit of, we have Greek, a little bit of Roman with a touch of, here and there Egyptian. And then you still have what we believe hell to be as Christians. So you have a part of hell where there's souls burning and there's screaming and there's that smell. Because I didn't want to create a world that hell was fun. I didn't want that to be. I also wanted people to realize, okay, if you think hell is going to be a certain way, you still have that side that is just not the most fun. Like nobody wants to go to the side of the road. It's like don't go out of that. And then you still have it. I think when they make it to hell, I wanted hell to be something that makes people go, really? So their version of hell is like the Vegas Strip. So so at one point, I think book 5, they had to go back to hell. So it's like the Vegas Strip that the demons have created. And they're like, where do you think they copied it from? So book 3, I think, takes you to Hotel California. So it's kind of also it's like, how do you play with what we know and make it somewhat fun? So if you know the references, people are like, really? That's hell? Like, why not? So yeah, so she has to get to Hotel California, which everybody thinks is hideous and needed to be blown up.
I tell you what, Hotel California would be. I don't know what that would be like. That's so. So is there hell and brimstone and fire and all that stuff in your version of hell, or is it gambling and loose women and you know what there would be a good story about that is if you had to go to the casino and you didn't have any money and
I mean, that's definitely hell. That would be a horrible nightmare. But I think that happens more on Earth than it would be in hell itself.
I agree. And
This
it
will be
happens all the time.
Oh God, yes. So you get a little bit of the brimstone, you get a little bit, definitely the demon side. And it's kind of the idea that your demons look a certain way until you peel the layers. And then you realize half these creatures are definitely there to kill you and destroy you. So Isis, and I do play a lot with the idea of holy water and having, water guns full of waters and hell and figuring out what you do. You get a little bit of, for anybody who's into mythology, you get the three-headed horse trying to attack them, and they have like a bar of chocolate to like defend themselves. So it's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek. There is that mythology, there is those concepts, but it's still the fact of like, what will you do when you have a girl in modern times that goes to hell and she's like, why are we here? So with the hell concept, I needed to get them there somehow. So for anybody who, how do we get them? So you have a boatman in most mythologies that you pay for a ride with a gold coin to hell, right? That's kind of the mythology. Yeah. That's kind of the part. What happens if that guy or skeleton or whatever you call it actually works for your boss? So when Isis shows up and everybody's like, what do we do and how do we get there? He's called DJ Bag of Bones. That's kind of the nickname. And so Isis comes in, and her guardian, who happens to be a 5,000-year-old talking cat, Constantine, he's like, here, give the bag so you can get in. So Isis like walks in very serious, trying to be, she's in the coast of Alcatraz. So that she gets picked up in Alcatraz by the DJ, the skeletons, everything's, tortured. They have souls getting ready. So she hands him the bag. He opens it up and pulls up a mixtape. And they're like, really, we're going to go to hell with DJ Bag of Bones. So her and Katrina, the other intro, are getting into this wild adventure of like, what happens if the guy that takes you to hell happens to work for death as well? Do you really sell your soul? Or he's like, what's up, little cousin? Jump in. Let me give you a ride. I got you.
Well, and you just described one of the worst things about the hell that you just described, which is it'd probably be hip hop music. Or,
oh my God,
rap.
yes.
And that would be listening to rap 24/7 would be my version of hell.
Only if you don't like it. If you like it, then this is your person of roller coaster from Disney. So yes.
Well, then you would get if you did like rap, then you would get like the Monkees, or
absolutely.
And you'd be listening to their music 24/7.
So you get a little bit of the idea of what if, and I think that's usually, as a fantasy writer, that's usually why I specialize, is take something that we think we know very surely and just add a twist. What if it was a little bit different than what we expect? So you get to go on these crazy adventures, and like you said, my goal is always to give you something just to break away from the routine. I think life can be very, very difficult. Life can be very draining and overwhelming. Sometimes you just want that escape. And yes, there's the social commentaries here and there if you're looking for it. I can give you some of that. But if you just want to get lost in a fun story of like, oh my God, did that just happen? This is it. This is the kind of stuff, just buckle up. You have no idea what's going to happen next.
Well, and it's important that you have that kind of rapport with your readers because it is like taking a break from reality for a while, and you know that it's really not really happening, and the four horsemen are probably really not going to. Death is probably not going to come knock on your door and say, "Hi, I'm Death. I want you to be my intern." It's like, and stuff, but it's I think it's great fun for you to play with people like that, so it's fun. So congratulations, 19 now.
Thank you.
The last one, which was Judgment Day, that came out when?
Judgment Day is the last one in the Intern Diary series. So I got stories and anecdotes for all of my books. This one comes with one of those. We're going to have a book, and I've been prepping this book for a while. I've been prepping my readership. Everybody's ready. So Judgment Day is book 5. We have been blasting. It's coming. It's all exciting. And it's think back March 2020. What happened in March 2020? So
Oh, I know.
So March 13th, the world decides that we're going to shut down. And we're going to shut down because of a pandemic of all things. And I write about the horsemen. So imagine there. So people's like, did pestilence do it? I was like, if she did, she's costing me a lot of money. So she stopped doing that. Not appreciating it. So then the hardest part is to have a book that says, Judgment Day is coming. And I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do this without sounding unkind, without sounding like I don't care? And still trying to promote this book. So a lot of the things, everything came like little parentheses, like the book, like Judgment Day is coming, the book. Because everybody's, like we're talking about what is happening. It's the first time in, over 100 years that our world is getting ready to shut down. And we don't know what to expect. And here comes this writer writing a book that says Judgment Day. I was like, God, really? Really? Is this how we're going to go down? Is that really what's going to happen? So releasing Judgment Day was definitely a different adventure. The covers were different, so they were darker. So it had this red and silhouettes of black, and there's flames in the back, and there's this skull in the top, and which is very different than what you have now. The one today gives you a very kind of urban fantasy feel. It's magical. The other one was very much dark and grim, so you thought horror, and then you honestly thought like, why is this book Judgment Day? So so it was probably the hardest promotion, and yet now 2 years later we can laugh about it because I'm like, somebody's like, "Would you change the name?" I was like, "You can't change the name of the book. Like, it doesn't just going to make any sense."
Well, especially with the artwork that you have on that, it really is a great looking artwork, and the gal who is is that the intern that's on the
She is,
front?
yes. So your main cover is Isis. My cover designer, Christine Girardi, does an amazing job in everything. Christine, for anybody who's looking for it, you can find her titles inside my book of what she does incredible work. So it's very urban fantasy feel. So you can't really decide that, it's a pandemic, we should change. Like, what am I going to change it to? Like, end of the world? Like, that's going to sell even better. So it became very much like, we're just going to go with it. God has a plan. It will be okay. I'm not exactly sure what the plan is, but we're going with it.
I really enjoy books like yours because I suspect, I don't know this for sure, but I suspect that when that you cover all of your bases as you're writing the book, you're not leaving things to chance. Let me give you an example. Do you remember the Left Behind series?
Hmm.
Um, in one of the movies that they did of that, they just showed people's clothing that was like left on the chair or left in the car, and they were gone.
Hmm.
So I was picturing, does that mean that there were a bunch of naked people flying through the air going up to heaven? And why didn't God let them have their underwear at least?
Hopefully they have new clothes when they get there. That's what I feel about it. Like, you get a
Oh,
whole new outfit when you show up. I'm like, who needs those earth clothes? Here's some golden robes. Come right in. I'm like, I'm hoping, because if not, I'm like, why are they naked? I'm like, clothes do not
and
pass inspection.
because quite frankly, nobody wants to see that. They really don't. Um,
At that point in time, you think they care? They're like, where are we? Why are we all here? Should make you question things. Like, what happened to us?
Exactly. That would be an interesting conversation, or an interesting book to write. Would be about the rapture, and what an individual would be going through their mind the day before, the day of, and the day after. Um,
That's deep.
Yeah, it really would be, because that you would have the freedom to be
Mhm.
able to say, this is where we begin, and then this is the actual event, and then this is the result of that event, and then trying to make it work and make it flow without being preachy. Now that would be the key, is to make it reality without being preachy. You know what I mean?
Anytime you add theology into, especially when you add modern day religions into, you have to be very careful. And that's one of the things when I wrote book one, I wanted to make sure that I didn't come across as preachy, and that's the things that I asked multiple others, like, does it sound like I'm preaching? Does it sound that I'm preaching about how we treat homelessness in the United States? Does it sound like I'm preaching about theology? They're like, no. It's like, why? It's like, because it's a fine line, our feelings are so much involved in who we are, how we see the world, that if we're not careful, you will find yourself creating a book that is much more like, I'm going to teach you, put this over your head, instead of something that's entertaining or even educational. So it's very hard to keep that editor, that judgment part of us outside a book that can be very, very personal. So when it comes to some writings, like having an outside person read it and be like, okay, did I come across as over the top? Or is this something that you can read it and entertain? And if you want to take more from it, you can. If not, are you still good with it?
Yes, and everybody who read your book and you asked that question to said, no, you're fine.
Mhm.
You do a good job, because you do a good job of being real and being honest and stuff like that. So that's great. That's great.
Thank you.
What are you going to do next?
I am working on a spin-off series. So right now it's called The Oldest Assassin. So yes, I have my mind doesn't stop, so I have to come with disclaimers for everybody. So one of our characters from the intern diaries happens to be a witch, who also happens to be like a cop in Texarkana. He has all this stuff, and he wasn't changed because at the end of the book, I don't know this. My readers all seem to have known this. He had a crush on ISIS. I'm like, did he really? Because I had no idea. No clue. Nobody told me that message. Everybody else seemed to be. I was the only one behind not tracking that. So he has a new series. He starts out with a novella, which is it starts out with a hitman, and then book two is the traitor. Book three is going to come out next year. So the goal is to give you a little bit of a wrap up of what's happening in the intern world. So Eric is a little bit sexy, a little bit dangerous, a little bit has issues. He's moody. Let's just put it out there. Eric comes with issues and bad choices in terms of women's selection, the whole 9 yards. But his heart is in the good place, and he wants to find out who betrayed his people and what he can do about it. What he finds out is he's horrible at being an assassin, hates being an assassin, but he can do it really well. So he hates it, and he's still stuck in this job. So has anybody been stuck in a job they hate? This is Eric.
Being stuck in a job as an assassin, that would be hard. It's
Thank
like,
you.
I don't really feel like killing anybody today. Then that would be hard.
I'm always going, I'm like, dude, how did you get stuck there? But he's so good. And they're like, well, at least you get answers. So Eric is literally hates the job, but still believes in the mission. He wants to help his people. So you get a whole bunch of that. And then I get to play with shifters, so which is kind of fun. I have an entire clan of shifters, which is also another clan of assassins. But for some reason or others, all assassins in this series. That's all you get. You get a bunch of
When
assassins.
when you say shifter, are you talking about mind or body being able to shift their bodies?
They're able to transform to animal forms. So my clan shifts into felines, and some of them get to pick which one they are. They're not werewolves, so some of them can be anything from tigers to panthers to oh my, you name it.
What's the name of that series when it comes out?
The oldest assassin. So the order of witches is the assassins. It's all about Eric and his own little world of trying to get out of this mess that he just got himself into. He's kind of stuck there.
How does it feel for a woman to be writing a story about a man? How do you get into his head?
I am really, really lucky. I'm the oldest of three and only have brothers. So being able to have really good conversations with them has helped. And I also have pick career fields specifically with men, not by choice, just gonna happen. So I went to school for film and television, which is a very male oriented field. And then I joined the military. So being around primarily I was a mechanic in the military for anybody who's curious. So I spent a lot of time just talking to the male side in terms of what they see and how they see things. And the fact that they don't see things as emotionally attached as many of us women do. So things that to me would be like, oh my God, they're like, girl, get over that. Like, that's not nearly as emotional as you think. So what Eric is adding a little bit more of those emotionals to make him a little bit difficult to deal. If you make him a little bit moody, you're going, boy, please, why are you doing that? So it's really fun.
So when you were in the military and you were working with a bunch of men, did they what surprised you most? What did you learn the most about the differences between men and women and their psyche and how they react and respond to things?
Honestly, the most surprising things is that we're much more alike than we think. That we're just as emotional about things that sometimes make no sense. Like I was expecting men to be, somebody said, a couple of my friends says, men are supposed to be, like the focus and less gossipy. I was like, no, men is just as gossipy as women. They just gossip on different things than women might do. So that was very surprising. It was very much like those like little in-house bickering that you're going, didn't see that coming. That was kind of the biggest surprise. But also the fact that it sometimes is amazing to see how quickly men can resolve problems compared to women. They have an issue, something happens, they want to talk it out, and they move on. They're not holding on to this for like 30 years. That's kind of one of the surprising things. Like once a guy says, okay, I'm done. They don't have this crazy conspiracy theories of like, oh my God, they're out to get me, I swear, because this happened. Oh no, they moved on. I was like, we talked about it. It's done. Move on. So I always find that to be very refreshing.
Because women can talk about things ad nauseum forever.
We
And
hold the, we hold on to things, I want to say. We tend to have more emotional attachment to
very
things.
politically correct. And I like that. That's very, very good. Yes, we hold on to our shit and stuff.
We're a little bit more emotionally connected. So it takes a little longer to let go of things when your emotions are attached. When things do not have nearly as much of an emotional baggage, guys can let it go. And things are not always as big as we think they are. So guys have an ability to let go of things quicker. We are looking at the impact and ramifications of our feelings and how this is going to affect our lives, guys. Like, not that big of a deal. So,
But you see that for a lot of women has got to be really frustrating because
oh,
they want to get it out. They want to talk about it. They want to continue to go down there, and the guys are like, "It's over. What are you worried about?" But we have to talk about it. We have to. No, it's all gone. I'm not interested in things. That's got to be frustrating for them.
it makes it for a very exciting situation. Let me put it this way. There's always going to be some excitement going on. And it's also the things that makes writing really exciting is to explore these dynamics between people. If you have somebody, and then you can switch the roles. You can have a man who is very emotionally attached, who is very much that needs to have this connection that tends to be a little bit more clingy, and have a woman who's a little bit more distant, and then have the same kind of chemistry, disasters happenings in the back. So yeah, so as a writer, my job is always to watch people and kind of figure out what makes people tick, what makes them very angry, and then put them in a situation that you're going, what if we put these personalities here? What would happen? So that's always kind of fun.
I want you to do this one. You ready?
Okay,
You ready for this
I'm
one?
ready.
Okay. This one is a teenage guy.
Uh-huh.
He's a bodybuilder.
Okay.
He's what's called a pretty boy. He never has to ask a girl for a date because they're always asking him.
Okay. That's very progressive. I'm in.
Well, because I'm talking about somebody that I know in real life, by the way.
Okay.
And and but he's never had to seek a date. He's never had to pursue anybody. They've always pursued him, and he just let whatever come. And whoever show up, and they may end up in bed, they may not, it doesn't matter. And it just continues that way. But at one point, he doesn't know how to love.
Okay.
And he recognizes that he doesn't know how to love. And then the journey for him is to find out what love is and how to do it before he realizes that he's unlovable. How about that for a story?
Ooh, a lot of the times when you have these kind of love situations, it always comes back to self love, believe it or not. So
Uh-huh.
people that have a hard time loving is because they can't love themselves. So without getting too into the therapy behind it is, you can't give something you don't have. That's kind of always comes back. So if you're not able to love yourself, so if your claim to fame is that you look good and you're the pretty boy, you're the alpha male, everybody's attracted to the outer package. It also comes back to if somebody sees the inner package, will they still love me? If they understand how broken I am, if they understand how hard I am, if they understand that I'm not perfect, will they still like me? So a lot of that character's journey is going to be to peel back the pretty boy, to peel back the layers of success or whatever that look that they're going for, and honestly get nasty and dirty and take a look at it. It's like, can they like that messiness inside? Can they like themselves? And then they'll be able to love.
You're
Those,
brilliant.
aw. But yeah, those take a lot of work because self love is harder than to give it. Nobody wants to look in the mirror and see the demon. Nobody wants to look at the monster underneath. We always want to have the public persona. We like what people say. We enjoy the public view of what people think about us. But when your relationship with yourself is the longest one you're ever gonna have. If you've been ignoring that one, if you've been putting it away, if you've been thinking it'll be fine, I just need to get more busy. I need to work out more. I have to have more people around me. When those people are gone and the busyness is gone and the beauty, the muscles are gone, and you have this that's really hard. So it is not that they are unlovable, is that they cannot love themselves. And that's usually why they end alone.
And it's very destructive. It's destructive and difficult for somebody who, as an example, no matter what time of year you're hearing this podcast, and it'll be up for a very long time. We just had Christmas,
Hmm.
and I know there are a lot of people that were lonely on Christmas because they don't have a family. COVID has done a bunch of stuff to us and other things. It makes it really tough for some of us to really connect with other people, and it makes it hard. So maybe that would be another a good book. I don't know. So
We have become very used to being by ourselves. And I don't think humans as a whole are meant to be lonely. I don't care what anybody says. Like, we're very tribal. From the
yeah,
beginning, we're meant to have a tribe. And it doesn't have to be the tribe you were born with. You can have any tribe. You can go out and make your tribe. One of the things that I found out as when I was in the military, my goal, whether I like to recognize or not, was I was always looking to fit in. I was always looking for my people. I grew up in a family that is huge. It's a bunch of Dominicans. We're very tribal. We stick together. When I left that, I found myself very lost and that I didn't belong and I couldn't figure out why because I was missing my tribe. So we are in that society. This is why social networks are so huge because we're always looking for a tribe. We're always looking for people to look at us and accept us. Not what we think we are, not the outside, but to look at us and really say, oh my God, I see you. You with your messiness, you with your hot nonsense going on. I see you and you are okay. You are a person that needs to be accepted. So we're always looking to fit in. So when Christmas comes around and you don't have anybody, people forget that that loneliness can kill you, stress can kill you. So not having anybody to look at you and recognize just as a human being, not even as a person to be loved, just as a human being to tell you you're worth it, you meant something, you're meant to be here, you are not an accident. Those things are pretty big.
hmm they really are. And if you are feeling that way, and there is a number that you can call nowadays. I'm not sure that we mentioned it last time, but if you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling like there's no reason for you to continue to live, there's a number you should call. It's 988. It's really simple. It's 988, and it's a crisis hotline. It's funded by the government, and there'll be somebody there who can help you out and walk you down the ledge and stuff. So it's that's you could be a counselor. You could do all kinds of things if you wanted to.
I have found out to be an artist, and it doesn't have to be paintings and drawings. It can be writing, it can be music, it can be anything, it can be art, it can be cooking. Let's be honest, anything that you're creative with. One of the hardest things we ask to overcome is ourselves, is that limiting beliefs by us to think we're supposed to be here. Because sometimes we're comparing ourselves to everyone, we're comparing ourselves to everybody who has made it. Instead of realizing that it is our race. I talked to my brother, was like, I feel like I need to pay my dues. And he looked at me, he's like, what are they? And I said, what? I was like, what are your dues? They're yours. You define what those dues are. Like, I was like, what? And it took me a minute to realize how much it hit. When somebody asks me, you need to pay your dues, I go back and say, it's like, I volunteered for the military. I spent a year in Iraq. I sacrificed my families. I have sacrificed a lot of things in my life to be able to create these stories for people, to be able to relate to people. So yes, have I paid my dues? Absolutely. They're not what people consider regular dues. People have an idea of like, oh my God, you have to slave, you have to be the starving artist. Whatever our definition is that we have put into our craft and our art to be better is what we're looking at it. But it doesn't have to be miserable. It doesn't have to be painful. I'm not the one who subscribed to like, oh my God, you need to struggle to be an artist. Oh God, no, that's painful. Like, go have some fun. Like, enjoy the process. It's so much fun to not be that person.
Oh, that is so true. And by the way, thank you for your service.
Oh, absolutely a pleasure.
And well, I wouldn't say that. My son was in Iraq for a little bit, and it's a hot
It's dirty.
place. And dirty.
It's messy. It's
Messy, it's dirty, and they've got spiders that eat cats, and
everything's gonna kill you over there. This is one of those things nobody tells you when you get off the plane. You actually like they give you a whole list of things that could kill you. It's like, this is why you don't tell me in the States, because nobody would get on this plane. Like, nobody's gonna get on this plane that you have the sandflies that are gonna get into your legs and eat you. And I'm like, what? What is this? Australia? Like, everything in this side of the world is trying to kill you. I was like, wow, the United States is very tame. Like, I literally was like, we should go back home. Like, my environment's now trying to eat me alive.
You mean there are sand flies that will bury themselves in your skin, and
Actually, we have sandflies that looks like, if you ever happen to walk at night, which I don't recommend, put like long pants, because you will come out looking like you should say, like chicken pox, like your legs entirely gets attacked. I was like, well, that was lovely. That was a great experience in my life. Like, among the many things, I'm like, great. Anything else is trying to eat me. And in case anybody's wondering, I am terrified of bugs, so this must sound a lot more terrifying than it is, because everybody else just looked at me and was like, girl, get over it. I was like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure something's going to eat me. Probably a lizard. A really big lizard is going to come and eat me.
well, and they got all kind of yeah. I don't know. I'm not interested in going. And it's 125 degrees. And
See, I live in Texas. I can't say anything about the heat anymore,
oh
because
wow,
it's the
that's a
same
good
thing. I
place.
was like, yeah, Texas is pretty hot as well. So I can't say that much about the heat.
Yeah. Now you live in Texarkana, is that right?
I do.
So in your books, Texarkana is a very very busy place.
Which becomes the big joke, because anytime anybody lives in Texarkana, the joke is nothing happens here. So that's one of the things I wanted to explore in this book, and is a common theme. Everybody goes, I success, and all the time it's like, I thought nothing happened in Texarkana. I'm like, yeah, till we moved in. They're like, oh yeah, that's our fault. Sorry about that. So that's kind of the joke about the series is, it is urban fantasy, so it takes place in a real location. So you do have to take some of the common things people talk about, like nothing happens in Texarkana. It's just gonna go a little while. Like, lots of explosions, lots of buildings get destroyed, lots of madness, and they're like, I thought nothing happened. And they're like, yeah, we moved in. Like, it's our fault. Yeah.
That's so funny. So, by the way, we're talking with DC Gomez, and if you want, and go to dcgomez-author.com, and she's got 19 books out. I don't know when she's only been writing for like 6 or 7 years, if I remember correctly.
I've only
Um,
been publishing. So I've been writing for a while, but publishing's only been about 6.
and 19 books in 6 years. You must have a hell of a publisher.
Unfortunately, the publisher's me, so we don't sleep in this house. Let me just put it this way. There's very little sleep in Casa Gomez, as I tell everybody. And all of my subscribers, like, yeah, there's very little sleep. At one point in time, it was very little food, and that got old. So now we just cutting sleep out of my life. It's okay.
So, how many hours do you get a night?
Now I'm up to 5, which I have people that says that's normal, right? Unfortunately, I function in like 8. So if I spend 4 days for 4 to 5 hours, by day 4, I'm a zombie. There's not even pretending. I like literally going, I sound like
Huh?
Darth Vader.
I gotta ask you, and this is for a question for everybody who's following their passion and doing what they love to do. How do you keep your motivation going when you're tired as hell and you've had you've had 5 hours or 4 hours of sleep, and then how do you've got emails to do, you've got chapters to write, you've got all the things that you do to put a book together. How do you keep your motivation?
Sometimes all you gotta do is tell yourself that it's okay not to be happy. And sometimes everybody feels I need to be chipper and perky. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be great. No, sometimes you be like, this is the best I can do. And sometimes the best you can do is send an email or finish one thing. My goal is always to do one thing for my business a day. If I do more than that, woohoo! That's an ice cream kind of day. But on a regular, it's one day. Make sure that I get something done for my business, whether it is doing a podcast, whether it is making sure I have an article out, whatever that might be. Because I'm a big goal-oriented, goal setting, so I need to have like a checklist of things to get accomplished. But I also had to learn to give myself the grace to say, you can't do it all, and all is not going to get done today. So what is it that I have to do that only I can do? So a lot of things in my life get outsourced. Like I don't do the covers for my books. That's going to get outsourced because that's a lot of work that I'm not that amazing at it. So I have no issues outsourcing things like working at editing sections of like my podcast is getting outsourced. So there's a lot of things that I can go ahead and send out that other people can do who are really good. But there's some things that only I can do. I'm the only one who can write my books. I'm the only one who can write my newsletter because it feels a certain way. So I'm very comfortable in committing, hey, what are some of the things to make it even more amazing? Like I live in Texas. We have an obsession with grass cutting. I'm allergic to grass. So things that gets outsourced in my life is cutting the lawn. That automatically is going to get outsourced because it needs to get done. I'm not going to torture myself and do it. It'll be okay.
Yeah, and you gotta forgive yourself and just allow things to go the way that they're gonna go, and which is really cool. How many brothers and sisters? Now you said you had what, two brothers?
Two brothers. I have two younger brothers.
But how many family are in your extended family? It's a large extended family, isn't
Oh
it?
my God. I grew up in a family that we count cousins, aunts, uncles. So Dominicans do not have the concept of immediate family versus this extended family. So to us, everybody's in this family. So I think last time I counted, I think we're over, I want to say I have 100 cousins. Just cousins. So yeah, so when I think of family reunion, someone's like, nobody needs to invite people. Like that's just us is enough. Like if you put all of my family together, that's just one hall. Like we should invite people. It's like, well, no, we don't. We don't have enough seats for everybody else. Like let's just call the family.
How many? So when you get your family together, how many people is that? It's got to be well over 100.
Yeah, too many. It's just too many. It's just a bunch of us running around. So yeah,
But it's nice to have an extended family like that if you like everybody.
it's nice to have an even if you don't like them because you have great material for books, so it doesn't matter. It's never lost. You're going to make the most of everything. So I am very blessed. Have a really good relationship with my brothers and my parents and my extended family from both sides. So it's really fun. It is also very much like anybody who has large family can understand. Drama comes when you just blink because it's just what happens with family. The people you love the most are the ones who know how to push the buttons the most. So you just have to take it with a grain of salt. And as a writer, I usually come with a disclaimer like everything you say and do will be used in a book. So please watch out.
And I might even use your real name.
Only if they make me mad.
Again, we've been talking with DC Gomez, and thank you so much. You are delightful. I just
Aw.
have to say. And we got to talk about your podcast real quick.
Yes.
When's it coming back?
Podcast will be back middle of January. Is Inside the Minds of Authors. So I get to talk to a bunch of authors, which is some of my favorite things. We get to listen to their books and truly go on this fun adventure of why do they do it? Because sometimes let's be honest, you've been writing for a while, you're still committed and you're still dedicated to it and you still love the craft. That's a beautiful thing. So for anybody who has the same obsession as I do, the podcast will be probably middle end of January. It's going to come back. We have new authors every week. And there's just a thrill. So much fun.
When is it going to come out each week? Do you know?
Fridays.
Perfect.
I like
So-
Friday night.
Yeah, that's the of course I can say I'm official by saying, and her podcast is going to drop every Friday night.
I like that.
It's going to be just wonderful and stuff. So congratulations. You're doing a lot. And you're a USA Today bestseller, and you've got you just got a great soul. You're just a great person. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Kevin. It's always a blast. I have so much fun talking to you, and I'm always honored to be with you. So thank you so much.
Well, I just love your energy, and you are an exciting and excitable young lady, I would imagine, from time to time.
Oh yeah, I'm Dominican. Comes with the territory.
Yeah, I would imagine. Don't piss you off because the repercussions could be bad.
Most people in my family knows like avoid the Dominican with a knife. This could get ugly. I was like, just don't do that.
Exactly. Before we go, I want to give you the opportunity to tell our audience anything that you would like them to know, those that are listening now and those that will be listening far into the future. And it could be 5 years and somebody's going to come to you and say, I was listening to you on a podcast and I can't remember the name of it, but you were awesome. And that was right about the time that Judgment Day came out. And so what have you been doing since and stuff? So that's very liable to happen. So, but tell us anything that you would like us to know.
First of all, I would like to send some blessings and joy to all of your listeners and viewers, specifically in these times. Regardless where you are in your life, know that you're meant for greatness. Know that you're truly meant to do something amazing in your life and to follow your dreams. If this little Dominican girl, that English is not her first language, can decide to take a leap of faith and start writing novels, my friend, you're meant to do it. And if you're looking for some quirky books that actually full of madness and fun and would take you outside of your comfort zone, if you're not quite into magic or curious about magic, come pick me up. I have tons of books that will actually get you excited about looking at things from a different perspective. And always remember, you are meant for greatness. Follow your path, my friends.
I wish I'd have said that. Can't say that any better than what you just did. I guess I did want to ask you because we haven't talked about this at all. In the Dominican roots is voodoo and hoodoo and all that stuff. Are there witch doctors and stuff that you're aware of that are still practicing voodoo and that sort of thing?
Not so much in the Dominican Republic. I think probably in Haiti, since we share an island. But most of Dominican Republic is Christian to some extent, some denomination or another. So no.
Okay.
So I've never met one. Probably a good thing because I wouldn't know what to do. I'm like, I write about them. I just would not know what to do.
Yeah, I have no idea. Again, DC Gomez has been our guest. Go to dcgomez-author.com and get Judgment Day. It'll be a great read, and you can wait to the end to see if humanity gets wiped out or not.
Let's hope not.
Yeah, that would be good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here, my friend. And if you'll wait right there, I will be right back. Hey, thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of PositiveTalkRadio.net. Please visit our website, oddly named PositiveTalkRadio.net, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin McDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share them with friends and family. So on behalf of our entire team, remember, be kind to one another because each other